Welcome, folks, to CFM Elite Lifestyle Business Page, and thank you for joining me on platform. So my name is Chico Matenda, and I'm currently recording from Greece, Athens. As you're joining me, whether it's on live or replay, do say hey so that I can acknowledge you for passing by and for also connecting with the CFM Elite Lifestyle Business community. So today I'm going to be talking about fibromyalgia, and is it doom and gloom to travel whilst you have fibromyalgia? So if you have had an experience of traveling with fibromyalgia, feel free as well to share your travel experience, how that has gone for you, what were your key takeaways, and many lessons learned. So some of you who may have watched or have watched my videos in the past, you would have learned a little bit about me that I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia in 2016. So it has been a progressive, huge learning curve, like any other experience, more than any other experience that I've ever had in my life. It obviously flipped my life upside down, like most of you who've gone through the experience might also be able to relate. And through that learning curve, there's been some key lessons taken away from that as well. So now in the past, I have traveled, and the traveling has been measured because most of the time it has been travel where my destination ultimately has been either spending time like with family or in a homely environment, and to a certain level that's been manageable up to the extent where I don't push it and I monitor myself. So with people who are not familiar with fibromyalgia, so fibromyalgia is mainly a musculoskeletal widespread pain condition. And basically for me, it affects me from neck down, I would say that, and also with my brain functioning as well, in terms of sometimes I'll get like brain fog, and then it's musculoskeletal widespread pain all over the body. And there are other numerous symptoms that come with it. So over the 2-year period, I believe that the first year it was more about learning how to manage my condition as well as the mindset. And then as I've crossed over that threshold, then I started to travel a little bit more. And I've also been mindful, and thankfully I've learned mechanisms of how to manage. So some of these tips are going to be about my lessons learned. And I'll just put my hand up just to say that I'm not a practitioner, so always seek guidance from your health practitioner if you're going through complex health challenges. They're the ultimate go-to person, and it's also about finding the right person who will meet your needs overall and well-being. And I know that is not easy either. So what I'm sharing with you is my life lessons rather than a health guide of you must do this, okay? So I just wanted to put it out there. So this year in March, I traveled to Lisbon for a week. And prior to that, I traveled as well to Canada. That experience wasn't too bad, although I was a little bit nervous about how it was going to be like, because I was going to like freezing cold conditions, more than I'm used to in the UK. It was going to be minus 10, 19, 20, you name it. But overall, and this is Canada, not Lisbon, I hope you get that. Overall, it wasn't too bad because I was resting most of the time and I wasn't exposing myself to the freezing cold weather. Now, Lisbon was another matter altogether. It was 7 days trip, and within that trip, I had a schedule planned out, and it was a family trip with my mom and my sister. So it was exciting, and so hopefully from this you'll be able to take away that excitement is great, it's fun, and the lessons I took away from that, although I planned out the whole week, part of it, I think I even know that I pushed myself beyond what I was used to mentally and physically after being diagnosed with fibromyalgia. Now, if I was a normal, whatever normal may be person, I would have been able to manage it. So every day we're doing an activity, and I believe there's only one day that I rested. So every single day the activities consisted of like walking, sightseeing, and also like walking up inclines. And when I'd get back home or to the Airbnb where we're staying, I would start to feel pain, or my feet were sore, and I was aching all over. And then the aftermath happened. That when I finally got home, it took me over a month to fully recover. So I've also heard that you may also be able to relate to this, is that anybody who's got a similar condition, travel will also impact you. And on top of this, I had done things which were more extraneous, that I was pushing myself beyond. Although I thought at the time that I was being mindful, I was still pushing my body to adjust to things which would be okay if I didn't have any fibromyalgia, but I was moving beyond what was expected for my mind and body to get used to. So this is tip number one, is to pay attention to your body and mind, to listen to it and not to overdo things. So I'm on my second trip, and this trip I've been more mindful. The difference with this trip, although I can't predict what the future will look like, it's been over a 10-day period in Greece, Athens, and I've taken it to the point that on alternate days, so one day is activity based, and not doing everything all in one. So that's another second tip, is that as much as it is exciting to travel, it's also to keep in mind that you don't have to do everything all at once. You don't have to do all the sightseeing at once. I would recommend at least breaking down your days. So if you've got like a short break, do an activity like in the morning, rest if you have to rest for the rest of the day, so that tomorrow you have enough energy. And we never have that 100% energy, but something that can still sustain you, that you don't crash and you're not able to enjoy your holiday. So breaking it down, so whether it be like you rest in the morning and then you go out like in the afternoon after evening time, and then leaving ample time to actually let your body and mind rest as well. Another helpful tip that I learned as well, the warm baths, especially if you've had an active day, is to take warm baths as well as to stretch. Very key, very important, before and after you do an activity. So you might not do it every day, but your body will let you know when it's appropriate. Okay, so it's been recommended for me that I'm mindful of that as part of my physio. So you may have received recommendations as well from your doctor or your physiotherapist on what is best. And that's tip number 3, is to keep going on with your routines that have been recommended, so that if you're on holiday, it doesn't mean that, or on vacation, it doesn't mean that you forget your routines that you were doing back home, including taking the recommended medication, taking it like on a regular basis, stretching and resting, as well as monitoring your activities. So with Lisbon, I crashed. So we learn from these lessons. It's not to say that you can't do it all over again. So on this second trip, it's another test. It's been 10 days. So that's a sufficient time away. But within that, I've been like alternating the days where I do an activity, not a full-on activity, not the whole day, and then come back to rest on that same day. Then the next day, rest, and then do something the following day. So if you've got ample time, that's the best that you can do for yourself. And then the other things I've learned as well from this as well is just looking up recommended places. So for instance, most of us were intolerant to gluten. You will find this out. So when I say most of us, it's people who suffer from like fibromyalgia. So it's just knowing the area where you're going to be staying, and a couple of restaurants, although some days it will be spontaneous. It's just helpful to have that in hand, so that you have a go-to place should you need to meet your dietary needs. Okay, because if you, for instance, take something that your body is not used to, then the likelihood is that it will like spoil the rest of your holiday. So being mindful of that, your nutrition and your dietary needs before you travel, or taking something with you a little bit. I even went up to the stage of like taking some gluten-free pasta with me. Yay. As an emergency kit, thinking that, oh, I might not find it. But the best alternative is always you always have veg, you always have something that's of like protein that you can eat whilst you're seeking other alternatives. So when I get back, I will know whether this has worked for me or not. It's also an adjustment because when I left colder climate, rainy weather, damp weather. So my brain fog was consistent. Now, being in a warmer climate, it's different. A warmer climate, you may feel low energy. You may also feel like that you're pushing against the weather and also activity. So if you're feeling like that, again, it's to be mindful to slow it down and revert. Just enjoy the atmosphere, but not doing too much. And it's also good and beneficial to switch up your environment, to break like for me, I found that the traveling, when you can do it and be in a different location and still continue to work, if it takes traveling in order to break away from the brain fog, then go for it because it can help you. So when I go back and revert back, it will be cold again, damp weather and rainy weather. I was even looking today that it's been raining the whole day. So my body may get knocked back into where I was before. But overall, what I've taken from it is that I've enjoyed my time. It's given me the time to learn new coping mechanisms in a different environment. And also I've learned that even when you are traveling solo or with like being amongst friends, that you continue to be open about how you're feeling and also not to push it just to please your friends or to please a crowd, because that won't make your condition any better. So the more open you are, the better you are off, and the longer you can enjoy your travel as well, because you don't want to get to the point where it pushes you from not being able to experience something that could also be beneficial for you as well. Planning beforehand is helpful. So planning in terms of like I'd say, as we all do, like with travel, your medication, obviously you want to keep to that consistent routine, and that can be tricky. And I'll put my hand up that's also thrown me off slightly. But when you remember, then keep on to the routine. This is just me summarizing. Consider fitting in resting days. Don't push yourself beyond what you normally do, and listen to your body and mind. Remember to monitor your activities, and also to stretch and also to rest when it's needed most. Not to push it beyond what you're normally used to. And then the last one is monitor your food intake as well. So I hope this has been beneficial, that you've learned some key lessons. So far, I've been able to navigate my way around to find what's most suitable for me, including taking the appropriate shoes matters the most, because not all flat shoes will accommodate you when you're sightseeing. Your feet may start to ache as a normal person would do, but with fibromyalgia, it's more heightened. So bringing appropriate attire is one that I also forgot to mention is most appropriate. If you do have any questions, do leave comments below. What I'll do as well in a couple of weeks, I would say 2 to 3 weeks, I'll monitor how I get on based on this current travel and see what impact it's had, whether this has worked well in terms of doing an activity one day and resting the next day, and see how my body responds to that, including how it responds to change of weather. So if you believe that you will find this beneficial, do let me know by just pressing tab the like button and then leaving a comment below just saying yes, and I'll know what it means. Then I'll record in regardless 2 to 3 weeks on as well, and I'll add on any questions that you may have as well and respond to that. Bye for me for now, and I look forward to you joining me on the next live session.